I'm a man in my early 50s, and for the past 23 years, I've been married to Lisa. Together, we've raised 3 children, Tessa, who's 22, Felix, 19, and Naomi, our youngest, who will turn 18 in just 2 months. I had imagined that we were finally entering a new, peaceful chapter of our lives. I truly believed we had made it through the roughest waters. But then, exactly a week ago, Lisa dropped a bombshell that shattered everything I thought was true. That day, her behavior was off from the beginning. She was distant, unnaturally calm, and said barely a word to me. I noticed how her eyes seemed to drift into some far-off thought, like she was somewhere else entirely. Initially, I dismissed it, assuming she was just fatigued or under pressure. But when night fell, she came into the living room, her steps deliberate, her throat clearing with quiet intent. "Ross," she said. Her voice had a steady, rehearsed tone that made my skin prickle. There was something in the way she spoke that made the hairs on my neck stand up. As I turned toward her, I noticed she couldn't meet my gaze. A tight knot twisted in my stomach. "Of course," I replied, closing my book and setting it aside. "Not here," she said in a hushed voice, glancing down the hall like she was making sure none of the kids were around. "Let's talk in the kitchen." My throat was parched as I followed her. My mind was spinning with worry. Was one of the kids in trouble? Was she sick? My palms were damp as I sat down across from her, watching closely as she did the same. Her hands came together on the tabletop. She stared at them for a few moments, then inhaled deeply. "I need to tell you something," she finally spoke, her voice far too composed. "What is it, Lisa?" I asked, trying to keep my tone calm, though my heart was pounding. She lifted her gaze to mine, and right then, I just knew. Before she uttered the words, I knew. It was all over her face, how she had braced herself, how she pressed her lips together like she was about to drop a weight she could no longer carry. "I've been seeing someone else," she said. Her confession slammed into me like a freight train. I sat there, stunned, unable to breathe. "What?" I managed to whisper. "It's been going on for 2 years," she continued, her voice unwavering. "With Pete." The silence that followed was unbearable. I clutched the edge of the table like it was the only thing keeping me from collapsing. My ears rang and my heart thundered in my chest. "Pete," I croaked. "Your colleague?" She nodded. "Yes." I shook my head, confused, trying to absorb the madness of it all. "Why, Lisa? Why are you telling me now?" "Because I'm ready to move on with him," she said softly, as if that would somehow soften the impact. "I can't live this lie anymore, Ross. I haven't been happy in a very long time." My fist clenched, knuckles white against the wood of the table. "A long time?" My voice broke. "We've been married for 23 years, Lisa. We've built a family, a home." She let out a quiet breath. Her eyes shimmered with something that looked like sympathy. "I know. I don't regret any of it. But I can't keep doing this." It felt like the ground was slipping from beneath me. My vision blurred with tears I didn't even realize were forming. "Please, Lisa," I whispered. "Don't walk away from this." She reached across the table, her hand barely touching my arm. It felt condescending, like she was soothing someone she no longer saw as her equal. "It'll get better," she said, almost like a promise she knew wasn't true. "You'll find someone else." A sharp ache spread across my chest, a hollow emptiness replacing what used to be my heart. I let out a bitter, fractured laugh. "After 23 years, you're telling me you can't keep going, that you're done?" My voice cracked under the weight of it. "I can't keep pretending," she said, her voice quiet. "I haven't felt fulfilled in so long. And I love Pete." I let out another laugh, darker this time, filled with disbelief. "You love him?" "Lisa, we built a life together. We raised 3 children. How do you just throw that away for? What? Some guy who's barely older than Tessa?" Her expression didn't change, and that somehow made it all worse. "This isn't a fling, Ross. It's real. And it's time we both moved on." Tears poured from my eyes uncontrollably. I couldn't hold it together, couldn't keep from falling apart. She sighed, lightly patting my arm again like I was something pitiful. "This marriage ended a long time ago," she said. "I was just waiting for the right moment to tell you." Once I'd gathered the remnants of my composure, I stood. My legs trembled, but my resolve was clear. I locked eyes with her, my voice steady and sure. "I want you to leave," I said. Her eyes widened, surprised. Only moments earlier, I had been pleading with her to stay. Now here I was, pushing her away. Truthfully, I was shocked by my own words, but I meant them. Something inside me had broken, and I wouldn't allow her to stand there, trying to soothe me like a pet she no longer had use for. Lisa paused, studying my face as if searching for any sign of doubt. but she found none. Without a word, she walked toward the bedroom and returned with a duffel bag already packed. The sight of it made my stomach lurch. She had prepared for this. She knew she was leaving long before she ever told me. I stood in the doorway, watching silently as she zipped up the bag and hoisted it onto her shoulder. Her eyes met mine briefly, her expression unreadable. After a long moment, she hesitantly stepped forward and placed one arm around me in what seemed like a clumsy attempt at a farewell hug. I remained motionless, unresponsive. My body stayed rigid, my gaze fixed ahead as she let go and retreated. Without another word, without an apology or even the faintest effort to mend what was broken, she turned and walked away. The only sound was the soft click of the front door closing behind her. That's when the weight of everything crashed down on me. I collapsed onto the couch, my body racked with tremors as sobs tore through my chest. The house, once full of life, now felt unbearably quiet and hollow, yet somehow stifling. My entire reality had shattered, leaving me alone in the ruins. Lisa, the woman I had cherished above all else, had deceived me for over 2 years. Her betrayal was complete, and in the end, she acted like it was nothing, as if I should just accept it, brush it off, move forward, and find someone new. I cried until my chest burned, until my head pounded, until the exhaustion overtook me and I passed out right there on the couch. I don't know how long I had been asleep before the sound of the front door creaking open jolted me awake. Naomi had returned home. Her voice, initially light and carefree, shifted the moment she entered the living room and saw me, a mess, eyes swollen and red. Her face tightened with concern. "Dad?" she asked, confused. "Where's Mom?" I forced myself to sit upright, every movement a struggle. My throat was raw, my limbs weighed down like stone. Naomi moved closer, worry etched into her features. "Dad," she repeated, her voice quieter now. I dragged a hand across my face, trying to summon the words I had been dreading. "She's gone, sweetheart," I murmured, barely louder than a whisper. Her forehead creased in confusion. "Gone where?" My breath shook as I ran a hand through my hair. "She left," I managed. My voice faltered, but I pushed on. "She's been seeing someone else. For more than 2 years." The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. Naomi stared at me, her expression blank for a moment. Then understanding flickered in her eyes. "What?" she breathed. I gave a slow, solemn nod, struggling to hold myself together. But the tears welled up again, and this time I couldn't stop them. I despised falling apart in front of my daughter, but there was no controlling it. Naomi's features softened with empathy as she sat down beside me. "Oh, Dad," she whispered, wrapping her arms around me. I couldn't recall the last time she'd hugged me like that. It was sincere, heartfelt. She was just as stunned as I had been when the truth came out. I hadn't spoken to anyone about it until that point. I hadn't been able to. But Naomi immediately took control of the situation. She made calls to her siblings, urging them to come home as soon as they could. She also reached out to my brother, Eric. Eric, now 45 and still single by choice, had always been a rock in our family. Reliable, steady, someone you could count on no matter what. And he didn't disappoint. Within hours of Naomi's call, he was at my doorstep, despite living quite far away. One look at me was enough. He knew I wasn't in any condition to handle things on my own. I was barely functioning, dragging myself through each day. Eric didn't bombard me with questions or offer empty reassurances. He simply moved in and took charge, making sure things didn't fall apart while I mourned the end of my marriage and the life I had known with Lisa. A full week has gone by now, and Eric is still here. So are all of my children. We're doing our best to process everything, but it all still feels unreal, like a bad dream I can't wake from. I never imagined that Lisa leaving would devastate me this deeply. I was angry, crushed, ashamed, but the overwhelming sense of loss caught me off guard. I felt completely adrift. Eric stepping in was the right call. I genuinely needed support. I still do. Getting out of bed each morning feels like a battle. But my kids, God, my kids have been extraordinary. They've shown me so much patience and kindness, and I'm beyond grateful for it. In the midst of it all, I've been in contact with my attorney. We're bracing for the divorce, but I haven't taken that final step yet. I was waiting for Lisa to initiate it. It only seemed fair. She was the one who chose to leave. But strangely, nothing had come. A week had passed without any documents being served. Then, late last night, I finally understood why. It was well past midnight when my phone rang. Still half asleep, I reached for it, my heart skipping a beat when I saw the name on the screen, Lisa. I hadn't heard from her since she left. I had no clue why she'd be calling me now. I answered, and the moment she spoke, I could hear it in her voice. She had been crying. Her tone was shaky, filled with raw emotion, so different from the cold detachment she had shown the day she walked out. "How are the kids?" she asked, sniffling. "They're fine," I responded briefly. "They're all here. Eric's here too." I kept my voice even, suppressing any trace of concern. I didn't want her to hear that I still cared, because I did. I still did, despite everything. But I wouldn't let that slip through in my voice. There was only silence on the other end. Lisa's sudden outburst took me by surprise. Out of nowhere, she broke into heavy sobs, no longer holding back like she had earlier with those quiet sniffles. I was stunned. Why was she the one crying? She had been unfaithful. She had walked out. What could possibly drive her to this point? Despite myself, I found the question escaping my lips before I could stop it. "Lisa, are you okay?" She inhaled sharply, trying to gather herself. "Pete." He turned me away, she finally managed. I furrowed my brow. "What do you mean?" Her voice cracked as she explained. "The day I left, I went straight to him. I believed we had something real. I thought we had plans. But when I asked about moving in, he just laughed. He told me he wasn't looking for anything serious, that he was only having fun." A dry laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "So, that's what you left for?" A fling. Lisa's sobs intensified. "He said it to my face, Ross. That he's still young, that he wants to enjoy life before settling down. And then, he told me that although I might still be attractive for someone my age, I'm 50. I have 3 children. That's not what he wants in his future." I leaned back, letting her words sink in. "He wants a family eventually," she continued, voice filled with pain. "But with someone younger, someone who can give him everything he dreams of. And I can't give him that." Her breathing grew uneven, every word soaked in regret. She kept rambling, crying harder, saying again and again that she had nowhere to go and that she had destroyed her life. She sobbed uncontrollably for what felt like 15 full minutes, unraveling right there. And me? I just sat quietly, listening. But inside, all I felt was a cold sense of satisfaction. Her voice shook as she went on. "The kids won't talk to me, Ross. They've blocked me everywhere. I haven't received a single message. It's like I've vanished from their lives." I remained silent, unshaken. "I've been staying at a hotel for the past week," she said, her tone broken. "I didn't know if you'd let me come back, and I was too scared to ask." My jaw tightened. Last night, I hit my breaking point. I couldn't take it anymore. "I feel completely lost." Her voice was heavy with desperation. Then came the sentence that made my blood boil. "Can I come back home, Ross? Please, just one more chance." "No way," I responded, my tone firm and final. "Ross, please just," she tried again. "There are no second chances, Lisa," I interrupted sharply. "Just like you never gave me one. You made your choice. You left. Now you live with that decision. But I'm actually glad you're going through this." I cut her off once more, my voice like stone. "You earned every bit of this." I didn't wait for a response. I ended the call, turned off my phone, and set it aside. In the stillness, I stared up at the ceiling. I wasn't just upset, I was burning with anger. The fact that she thought for a moment I might take her back, that I would be the one to patch things up yet again, was infuriating. For years, I had been the one to fix our fights, to run after her, to apologize even when I had done nothing wrong. I had given her more love than she had ever returned, more than she was even worthy of. But that chapter of my life was done. I wasn't going to let myself forget this, not anymore. I didn't want to forget. This moment was the wake-up call I had long needed. She had left, and now she had to live with the fallout. The house. It was legally mine. She had no right to demand anything from me. And of course, true to form, Lisa wouldn't let things be. When I turned my phone back on the next morning, it was flooded with her messages. Reading them, a fresh wave of irritation surged through me. She was furious now, playing the victim yet again. In her eyes, I was the selfish one, the cold one, the one who was being unfair. She said I wasn't even thinking about her. That, of all things, felt the most absurd. How could she claim that after everything? Then, she went even further. She blamed me for turning the kids against her. That accusation lit a fire in me. I hadn't even known they had cut her off until she mentioned it. I had never asked them to block her, never influenced their choices. That was their decision. So how was any of that my fault? Maybe it was my frustration talking, but the more I thought about it, the more twisted it seemed. She had labeled me as the villain simply because I refused to resurrect a marriage she had shattered. As if I owed her another try, as if everything she did could be erased so easily. She betrayed me. She walked away from everything we had. And now, with nowhere else to go, she came crawling back, hoping I would forget the pain and welcome her home. Did she actually think I would open my door, my heart, as if none of it ever happened? That I'd let her walk back into my life without consequence? Lisa didn't deserve another chance. She's been bombarding me with texts, trying every angle she can think of. One moment she's full of regret, begging for forgiveness, admitting how badly she messed up. The next, she's laying on the guilt, saying how miserable she's been, how much pain she's in. She tried again to twist the narrative, attempting to paint me as heartless for pushing her away. One of her messages pleaded, "Ross, please, I know I messed up. I'll do anything to fix it. I swear I can be the wife you deserve. Just give me another chance." I didn't write back. There was nothing left to say. I genuinely can't understand why she still believes there's a future for us. This wasn't some minor argument we could just move past. What she did was a deep betrayal, and she still doesn't seem to comprehend the gravity of her actions. I honestly doubt she ever will. I sent Tessa and Felix back to their own routines, letting them return to their regular lives. Naomi, however, has remained here with me. She checks in frequently, making sure I'm coping, and I appreciate that more than she probably realizes. Still, I've encouraged her not to let my situation weigh her down. One evening, as we relaxed in the living room, I told her, "You don't have to stay here all the time. Go out, enjoy yourself, spend time with your friends." She gave a quiet smile and said, "I don't mind, Dad. I just want to make sure you're all right." I replied, "That means a lot, sweetheart. But I don't want you putting your life on hold because of me." She sighed softly and nodded. "I just hate the thought of you being here alone." I reached over and gently squeezed her hand. "I'll be okay, I promise. You should focus on doing what makes you happy." Naomi is set to leave for college this fall, and I want her to enjoy her last few months at home. She has her own journey to pursue, and I don't want her to feel tethered here out of a sense of responsibility. Thankfully, my brother Eric is still living with us. His presence has been a real blessing, both in terms of support and helping around the house. While I've often talked about the emotional toll of Lisa's betrayal and departure, there's also the shift in everyday routines. It may seem trivial, but these small changes are daily reminders of her absence. We used to have a rhythm. Lisa enjoyed doing the cooking and laundry, and the kids and I handled dishes and trash. Now, with her gone, those duties have shifted. I didn't want Naomi to take them on. She already has enough to manage, so Eric and I stepped in. One night, as we were sorting laundry in the kitchen, Eric looked over and asked, "Did Lisa actually enjoy doing this stuff?" I gave a half chuckle and nodded. "She always said it was relaxing," I replied. Eric pulled a shirt from the pile, frowning. "I don't get it. This is the worst." I laughed. "You and me both." Still, despite the griping, he pitched in without complaint. Eric's not one to get sentimental, but having him around gave me some peace. He didn't push me to open up or offer hollow sympathy. He simply helped. That quiet support made me feel like I could exhale a bit, like I wasn't bearing all the weight alone. I know he'll return to his life at some point, but right now, I'm just glad he's here. Then there's the legal side of things. Yesterday, I finally filed for divorce with my lawyer. I had hoped Lisa would take responsibility and start the process herself, but it became clear she had no intention of doing that, likely because she had nowhere else to go and hoped to return. Realizing that, I chose to move forward. She'll receive the papers in a few days, and then the legal fight begins. I never imagined this would be my reality. I never saw myself as someone who would end up divorced. But this is where we are. It's painful, but I know it's the only path left. I can walk away with a clear conscience, knowing I gave my all to this relationship. What happened isn't my fault. It's on her. I refuse to let guilt sink its claws into me because I didn't do anything to deserve this. One small comfort in all of this is that my children are adults now. The other night, Naomi and I sat in the living room when she quietly asked, "How are you holding up?" I answered, "I'm managing," though I wasn't sure if I believed it myself. "It's just a lot to process." She nodded, curling up on the couch. "Yeah, I still can't believe she thought she could just waltz back and like nothing happened." I rubbed my face, letting out a sigh. Neither can I. but at least I don't have to deal with a custody battle too. Lisa has already been served with the divorce documents, and judging from her recent messages, she didn't handle it well. I haven't blocked her number yet, and I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it's because I haven't quite gathered the emotional strength to make that final cut, but I know I need to. Soon. She's been sending the most disturbing texts, filled with anger and bitterness, almost as if I'm the one who turned her life upside down. In her eyes, I'm being cruel just because she wanted a brief distraction from what she calls a boring and repetitive life. She actually had the nerve to tell me I was nearing 50 and looked every bit of it, like that was supposed to be some kind of insult. I muttered under my breath as I scrolled through her messages. Yes, Lisa, that's how aging works. I'm aware I've let myself slip a bit. It's been a long time since I set foot in a gym, and my hairline isn't exactly thriving. But for someone my age, I think I look pretty decent. I'm a dad of 3, and 2 of them are nearly grown. Of course I look older now. It's part of the package. It's not like I'm massively out of shape or completely unrecognizable from my younger self. But if Lisa expected me to still resemble the guy she married decades ago, that's her issue. Unless you're a Hollywood star with endless resources to stay youthful, it's just not realistic. Are you really going to let her get in your head like that? Eric asked while I sat on the couch, eyes locked on my phone screen. I let out a sigh. It's not that it's getting to me, I admitted. It's just pathetic. She's trying to spin this like it's all on me. Eric shook his head. That's typical. She cheats, turns everything upside down, and you're somehow the bad guy. I chuckled bitterly. Apparently, I was supposed to reinvent myself instead. Eric muttered, that's just wild. She's completely lost it. Maybe she had. Or maybe she'd always been like this, and I just didn't want to acknowledge it. Looking back now, I could see all the signs I ignored for 2 full decades. I justified things, made excuses, told myself every relationship has flaws, and convinced myself ours was worth fighting for. And the truth? As pathetic as it is, a part of me still cares about her. That part is small now, but it's stubborn. You should just block her, Eric said, cutting through the noise. I nodded. I know. I just haven't yet. He leaned forward. Ross, you're not going to get closure. She's not going to wake up with a revelation and admit she was wrong. All you're doing is letting her keep messing with your mind. He wasn't wrong. I knew that. The challenge was mustering the strength to finally cut the cord. I couldn't keep playing along with Lisa's chaos. A few days passed. Then my daughter, Tessa, shared something wild with me. Lisa had apparently started some dramatic feud online with Pete. She had gone on a public rant, accusing him of stringing her along for 2 whole years before ending things because he didn't see a future with her. I shook my head in disbelief. She tossed aside everything, our marriage, our family, without even confirming whether Pete wanted the same life she did. It was downright ridiculous. I mean, if I were to cheat, which I never did, I'd at least want to be sure the person I was wrecking my life for actually wanted a future with me. She's really losing it online, Tessa said, scrolling on her phone. I leaned back and asked, what exactly is she saying? It's a full-on meltdown, she replied. Then her eyes widened, and she let out a short laugh. A couple of her coworkers just chimed in. Turns out Pete was also seeing them. I gave a slow, impressed whistle. So Pete was making his rounds at the office, huh? Tessa snorted. Yeah. And Mom thought she was the exception. I couldn't help but let a smirk creep in. If there was ever a moment that screamed karma, this was it. I never put much stock into the idea before, but now? Lisa had torched our relationship for a man who never genuinely cared for her. The irony was almost poetic. I picked up my phone and let out a quiet breath. I think it's finally time to block her. Tessa gave me a nod. I already did. I muttered, smart move. I should have done this ages ago. She gave me a look and said, then do it now. I paused for just a heartbeat, then finally tapped the button. Just like that, Lisa was out of my digital life. Well, almost. I still had to let my side of the family know about the divorce. We hadn't made it public yet, but with Lisa's online breakdown, I figured the word was already spreading. Are you going to tell Grandma and Grandpa soon? Tessa asked. Yeah, I will, I said, exhaling slowly. But first, I just want to sit back and enjoy the show. Lisa had walked right into a disaster of her own making, and for once, I wasn't the one scrambling to fix everything. Pete, the same guy I used to hate with a passion, had unintentionally done me a favor. A part of me even felt like giving him a high five, maybe shooting him a well-played message, just for fun. But in the grand scheme of things, none of that mattered. What mattered was that I was finally pulling myself out of this wreck. The divorce was happening, and honestly, I couldn't wait for it to be finalized. 1 month later, we were deep into the settlement talks. It amazed me how I could sit across from Lisa and feel absolutely nothing. No lingering resentment. No sadness. Not even a flicker of affection. Just nothing. She would still smile at me occasionally during those meetings, probably trying to see if she could stir up some kind of reaction. But I never gave her that satisfaction. Afterward, she'd sometimes try to talk to me, hanging around like we were long-lost friends. I made a point of avoiding those conversations. There was nothing left to say. From what I had gathered, she was currently crashing at a friend's place, and her job was no longer in the picture. That wasn't all too shocking, considering the very public meltdown she had on Facebook not long ago. The silver lining? There was a good chance I wouldn't even need to pay alimony thanks to that outburst. In her own words, posted for everyone to see, she admitted to being unfaithful. That meant I didn't have to prove anything. She had handed me the evidence herself. Never in a million years did I think Lisa's bizarre fixation with Pete would end up benefiting me, yet here we were. Back at home, the kids and I had fallen into a rhythm where her name barely came up. It wasn't a decision we made consciously, we just naturally drifted away from any mention of her. No conversations about how she was doing, no texts, no check-ins. It was as if she had faded out of our lives entirely. And truthfully, I was at peace with that. The other evening, Tessa came by, and we were catching up in the kitchen when she suddenly mentioned, with a casual air, that her mom had lost her job. My eyebrow arched as I asked where she heard that. From someone who heard it from someone else, she replied, sipping from her glass. Then she added, with a knowing look, feels like karma, don't you think? I gave a low chuckle, agreeing with a smirk. But the mood shifted when she continued in a more reflective tone. Do you think we should ever actually talk about her? Try to handle it in a more emotionally healthy way. I leaned back, taking a breath before admitting, yeah, probably, just not right now. She nodded slowly, echoing my thoughts, yeah, not right now. Emotionally, I had come a long way since the chaos began. While the pain, betrayal, and anger hadn't disappeared completely, they had softened into something I could live with. I understood that time would continue to ease the sting. But soon after the divorce papers were signed, a strange emptiness settled over the house. Even though I had the kids, their lives were busy, and when they weren't around, the stillness became overwhelming. That's when I made a choice to get a little companionship. Not just any kind, though. I brought home 2 amazing German shepherds, Max and Luna. What started as a simple decision to get pets quickly became something more meaningful. Max and Luna were more than animals. They became my closest companions. They stayed close whether I was working, relaxing, or hiking through nature. Their high spirits rubbed off on me and gave me the push I needed to climb out of the emotional slump I'd been stuck in. One day, standing in front of the mirror, I saw the version of myself Lisa used to mock, the man with thinning hair who had clearly let himself go. But instead of feeling resentment, I felt a spark of determination. That same week, I joined a gym and committed myself to sticking with it this time. At first, returning to fitness was rough. Years had passed since I'd last touched a dumbbell, and every workout felt like a struggle. But eventually, something shifted. I started noticing real changes, muscles forming, strength returning, energy rising. I decided to post a before and after photo on Instagram, mainly for personal motivation and maybe a handful of friends. To my surprise, it took off. People were inspired by the transformation. They saw someone who had hit rock bottom and managed to rebuild. That story resonated. The growth on my page was rapid. In a matter of months, my follower count soared. People came not just for fitness advice, but also for life tips and, without question, Max and Luna, who had become social media darlings in their own right. They were in nearly every clip, racing beside me on runs, goofing off with a tug-of-war rope, or simply mugging for the camera with those expressive eyes. The traction never slowed. Soon, companies were sliding into my inbox with offers. The follower count passed 100,000, then 200,000, and the numbers just kept climbing. Compliments poured in. People were calling me an inspiration. It felt like I was living someone else's story, but it was all real. Riding that wave of success, I made a decision I never thought I would. I walked away from my day job. That chapter of my life belonged in the past. I leaned on my savings, the new stream of income from sponsorships, and of course, my 2 loyal dogs, and I hit the open road. These days, my life is all about travel. I vlog my adventures with Max and Luna always by my side. We climb rugged mountains, roam through vibrant cities, and dive into crystal blue oceans. Every single day brings a new experience. My life has transformed into something I once thought was impossible, and for the first time in a long time, I feel genuinely free. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.